Hello, everyone, and welcome to Allianz Joy today. I am glad to see you here. Thank you for joining the show and this episode on stress and mindfulness. So we're going to talk a little bit about stress and anxiety and depression today. It seems like a recurring thing I talk about, but that is because it is my business. I help people as a life and wellness coach. I help people with stress and anxiety and the outcome of such behavior. So sometimes that is physical, sometimes that is behavioral. So we're talking about the stress symptoms a little bit. If you feel that that is one of the things that you are going through, then reach out or listen today some of the tips that we have to address stress, right? Stress is really just something that I help people with a lot. A lot of people have a lot of stress that they suffer from, including myself. Everybody does. And we also see that a lot with people that are using um, things like food or substance abuse, drinking, drugs to overcome and help with stress, right? And we don't want to do that. It happens a lot with my patients and clients in my life coaching practice. And also, I help patients physically a lot when pain and when stress will manifest in your body. So that happens a lot as well. So we see that stress just really requires your body or does changing in that behavior in the environment will cause stress, and that will just definitely set a reaction off and the reaction response in your body reacts to that. You might really feel sleepy for days, like I talked to you last week about that personally, how I was traveling and how that really gets you exhausted, right? And on top of that, having to worry or going through uh, dealing with family and surgery or pain, like in my case. Was the situation it was the situation in my case. I really had to just take a couple of days off to feel and to rest and to get my body back to where it needs to be. And in order to do so, you really have to listen to your body. And that is something that we can do when we do mindfulness and when I teach people to meditate or to breathe and to come more into the moment. And stress is a really normal part of life, really. A lot of events happen around you or maybe to you, and a lot of things that you do yourself put stress on your body, and you can experience a good form of stress and a bad form of stress from your environment, from your body, or from your thoughts, right? So how does that affect your health? Our body is really designed to experience stress and to react to it, and it can be positive, like I just said, or negative. So if we feel a positive stress response, that can be something that keeps us alert. It is, maybe even avoiding danger. It might be even a job promotion or greater responsibilities overall that really put you in a place of what we call positive eustress, positive stress. That is the thing that kind of like, ooh, you feel, but I call sometimes really exciting anxiety, right? You're just making a big step in life, you're making a promotion, you take on more responsibilities, you're doing something different, you're changing your whole life around, maybe even personally. You're going to move. All these things bring on that exciting anxiety. And when it's a negative thing, when it is distress, it becomes negative. When you're facing constantly challenges without relief or without relaxation between these challenges, right? So when you can't stop thinking about it, when you're ruminating, when you're overall just building and building and building tension in your minds, you're thinking about it, you're feeling already just that you can't let go, that you can't sleep, those kind of things. And then you also feel the physical symptoms of that. And those physical symptoms might be just headaches. It might be an upset stomach, right? Or our intestines really react to what we're doing and what we're thinking and what our brain creates. And you can always feel that in an upset stomach and in your intestines. You might have chest pain, you might feel an increase, or you might have an increase in blood pressure. And those problems will just stack up, right? You might even have a lot of problems sleeping, which is usually my stress response. If I feel that I have a lot on my mind, I have a difficulty sleeping. And overall, that's just because I'm constantly thinking and I can't shut my mind off. And as a result, you can really feel that tension building and you can really become overwhelmed. And that stress has to do with everything that comes at us daily, right? It's just the daily stuff that people experience. When it becomes more and more the thing that you keep going into it and you keep worrying about the outcome in the future even, then it becomes a more of a permanent anxiety. You feel that constant pressure, you feel that constant stress. So also when we are stressed, we might just, of course, reach out, as you hear me talk about this a lot, you might reach out to substance, to beer, to alcohol, to wine, to drinking heavily. You might start earlier in the day. You might have too much time on your hands to start earlier in the day. I always say that is also very tempting, right? That's why you don't want to do nothing, to give yourself the thought even of having to start something early or wanting to start something earlier. And just, starting to drink early in the morning, starting to eat more. Eating is just such an overwhelming stress response in our society, which really just becomes the number one, right? People just want to eat and eat and eat. And those health effects, or those are, of course, effects of stress that are affecting our health and not improving, but making it worse, of course. So when you're thinking about, for instance, the Safety and Health Administration, the OSHA occupational sites, they declare stress even as a hazard in the workplace. And that was an official hazard when they declared that. And so because it costs so much money in the workplace, right? We almost spend 300 billion annually to address stress. And that is a big problem at the workplace as well. So people are coming home more, right? A lot of people in the doctor's office. What do we have? More than 90% of the office visits are stress related complaints and ailments. We have 43% of all adults that are suffer from these health effects from stress. And that is again headaches, high blood pressure, your heart problems, just diabetes, even skin discoloration, skin conditions, arthritis, depression, of course, and sometimes even asthma, right? So we have a lot of these physical effects of what stress does to your health. And nowadays, we have seen the numbers, we have seen the global numbers and the numbers in America. We can just say right now that we have about 31.9% of people suffering from stress-related symptoms. And that's a lot in our society. So what does that do for you? It just makes you sick, and sometimes you don't even know where it comes from. I have a lot of people that come to me. So to give you an example, if people are coming into my practice for a one-on-one, let's say pain management, and they do not know really where it comes from, my role as your coach and your advisor and your consultant there is to help you find out what was really causing that. So is it a real physical thing, or is it something that is related to more stress and, just a lot of things that have been building up lately? And because of that, you have been eating. Because of that, your posture was really becoming um, bad, right? Maybe we were more sitting. Maybe as a result of that, we are now having back problems. So it's all related, and we just need to bring that back. We call it, of course, the mind, body, spirit approach, right? Where we're going to bring everything back into finding out where that comes from. But, that mindfulness that we leave behind, that is where I usually start on the what can we do. Um, uh, after an assessment or initial consult or a sit down and visit with people, then I tell my patients or my clients, let's go start with mindfulness, because that mindfulness, bringing that back into your life, just the practice of mindfulness, might usually be the start of you being able to find and to feel and to heal. We have to find where this comes from. Ultimately, when you can do that without me in the future, when you learn to do that and you find out where you can feel and where you can heal, that's a really big step to being mindful in your daily life as well. And when you bring that mindfulness on, then that is something really, really amazing for your mental health overall, right? So being mindful really means that you're aware of what's happening around you. It's like watching your life from an outside, looking at yourself from the outside, from a distance, and seeing the right action that you can take at every point in your life, right? So you really want to kind of like be still and imagine looking at what you're doing, looking at how you're doing it, looking at your own reaction patterns to everything, and starting to really increase awareness on that. So that's really important. And we don't do that. We have a tendency, like I always say, and this is my life, this is my job, this is what I do, that's why I talk about it so much. We have a tendency of going back into the past and, just kind of reminiscing and ruminating, thinking about it and what could we have done different and so forth, instead of letting that go, because it is behind us and we're having to move forwards. And then when we're moving forwards, we get a little zzz about it and a little scared or worried sometimes because we don't know how to do it. One of my big pet peeves and quotes is, we do know what we don't want, but we do not know what we do want. And that is very important to find out how we can plan and how we can lead ourselves in a mindful and aware way to towards the future and the action points that we have to take to bring our dreams alive, right? And mindfulness plays a really big role in improving that stress and improving your mental health. And according to research, again, it is so important to manage stress and to manage depression and of course addiction, of course anxiety, because this is the thing that we are all having. And the health conditions, again, hypertension, chronic pain, ultimately a lot of chronic pain, back to my patients in my practice, and sometimes even heart failure. So we don't want to go there. Definitely we want to stay alert and we want to be more in the moment. And what can bring you back into that awareness? The present moment and your patterns, the present moment and your thoughts, what you're thinking all the time about what you're doing. Do it more mindful, do it more in the moment. That's a difficult thing. We're not really used to that anymore in our society. And we just kind of like are always even, kind of going, and to be a step ahead of what we're supposed to do later. And that is just such a rush mentality that we want to try to step out of it. And if you become more aware of what you're doing in a moment and you understand that, then you can really start making that a little bit more of a daily practice and a habit. And that is very, very important to make new habits, to become just a little bit calmer and to just get a grip of the situation. Either sometimes it is something that you can't do anything about or something that you can change. And then as one of, oh gosh, I got to bring that to you again, but one of my famous monks that I love to follow so much says, it just came to me, so I'll look it up for you. But he always says, if you are able to do something about your problems, then why worry about it? And if you can't do anything about it, why worry about it? And that is, of course, that sounds a little bit easier than it is. But it's really true if you kind of like come into the moment of your own strength and awareness and you're feeling good, then everything becomes a little bit more doable, right? You don't have to be stressed out about it or be anxious about the future, because you can see that there are plans, that are patterns, there are things that you can do about it. And you can start planning, and that takes a lot of the stress out of it, right? You're just kind of like ahead of the game, and you can do that in the moment. So mindfulness can really teach you also how to mindfully manage your emotions in a way that brings positive changes in your behavior. And when you do that, then the outcome, awesome. I wish that I could say I never worry. That is not entirely the truth, because I do when things happen. And of course, when things happen to your loved ones, you can't help about, not to worry. But is there a lot of things that I can actually do and manage? Oh, yes. And I had to get back to that place for myself as well. Like, for instance, just running, running, running and thinking, oh, what can I do? It's not really helping. Instead of sitting down, really calm, being grateful in the moment, that is also the number one thing that mindfulness always creates that I love so much. It creates this space to be grateful and to be accepting and to be aware of all the accomplishments that have already passed. So the things that I have already done, I know when I come into that moment of seeing that, that it also gives me the strength to go forward. So it brings me to a place where I can see, oh, yes, well, this is what I did in the past, and that helps me so much. So I can do that again. So let's go over some things that we can really start with every day that are just things that are making us more aware and making us more mindful. So, for instance, mindful breathing, right? A couple of weeks ago, I did a short show on box breathing. And that is a really good thing to start with. Just to inhale for 4 counts and then hold it for 4 counts. Exhale, let go of your shoulders, right, for 4 counts. And hold it right there for 4. So you're going into a square or box breathing, as we call that. And you feel that. You're aware, you feel that body, you feel the tension, just that relaxation in your body, setting in the tension flowing out of your body. And that is really just such a good feeling. If we can do that for about 30 seconds, if we can do that for a couple of minutes, right? You want to increase the time and allow yourself the time to do those wonderful things for yourself. So allow yourself the time in the morning, an extra 10 minutes maybe, to sit down and do these exercises. Sometimes it is mindful walking, and we want to start really slow. We don't want to go into our power walk, but we want to walk slowly, because that will arise us an awareness in your body for every step. So you really start feeling every step. You want to feel everything. You want to feel the sensation of your foot muscles, the feeling of your body when it makes contact with the ground. And when you start there, then of course you can increase to a power walk. But you just want to have a couple of minutes where you become aware of what your body is doing in combination with your breath. So when you start bringing that together, like we do even in walking, and even more so in a really aware Tai Chi or Qigong practice, then really you start to flow. And you almost start feeling light, right? Your mind is drifting away, and you're really bringing back that concentration towards your body and towards your breath. Mindful eating is a really thing that we can do. This technique of mindful eating is something that I learned from my nutritionist friend, Tricia Silverman, when she started telling me about mindful eating. She used to do that at big conventions we would travel to together. And it was always such a great thing. She would give us something to eat and then try to keep it in your mouth and really describe the taste. And one of the things that we do in mindfulness, in awareness, is the practice of starting to describe with words, or even try to jot it down, right? If you like to write with words, how to describe that. So you get a little bit of a raisin, or you get something that is a fruit, Then you start tasting it and you start tasting the sweetness, describing the shape, describing the form, describing the context of it, the how it feels in your mouth, maybe a smell, and of course the taste of it. And just do that with what you're going to eat during the day a couple of times. It might be a couple of small bites. When you give that meal your full attention, where you're really going to observe the details of what you feel, the smell, and how it feels in your mouth, right? So even when you swallow and how that feels, so when you bring that towards your awareness, it's a really, really a passive way of an active way of eating instead of a passive way of eating. And then the last thing that we can do for ourselves, just to bring a little bit of mindful practice and awareness to our daily routines, is to listen a little bit more mindful. And that is something that sometimes we don't do around our loved ones. I talk about that in my practice with my clients so much. Are you actually listening to each other? Do you actually know what this person is telling you between the lines? Are you just like, I hear you, right? And if you are just more into that, yeah, I hear it, mode, then you're sometimes not really taking in what somebody is trying to tell you. And if you do that, it really improves your connection with somebody, and it really improves your relationships with people, and the way you communicate. So it's very important to sometimes listen and find out if you're actively listening in between the lines. If you're trying to make more of it than you just hear, right? So it's really important sometimes, especially when we're trying to communicate with others. And then the active listening, of course, involves also just being outside and listening to your environment in general, paying attention to the leaves, the brushing of the trees, the wind, sounds that are around you in any place where you are, just listening to it and trying to describe what you hear at the moment. Very important to pay keen attention when the speaker or when somebody is talking to you and what you are listening to yourself and what you're hearing in your environment and your surroundings. Sometimes even listening to what I do as a somatic practitioner, again, bringing it all the way around to the beginning, how my patients or clients are coming in tells me somatically, physically, how they are feeling. And now I have to listen to what their body tells me, right? And when your shoulders are here, I can tell you that you might be a little bit stressed out, and that I can hear that by listening to your body or watching your body. Right? So if we want to conclude it with how can we do this and make this a little bit more of a daily practice, just do it. And sometimes it's new habits. Sometimes you just really want to do it every day, for starting with your coffee time in the morning, starting to bring more mindfulness and awareness to you. Bring it into a new habit by maybe sitting in a new place, or buying a nice new meditation pillow, or having that daily walk that you really want to integrate in your daily life, or just monitoring your thoughts and your feelings and start to write it down and um, keep a daily, daily notes, keep a journal. That's the word I was looking for. And then, of course, sometimes with exercise, definitely, right? When you start to really fully practice yoga or meditation, these are the practices that will bring that back, the mind and the body. So thank you so much for today. If you have questions, I hope that that's um, brought a little bit more awareness again to you and to the things that you can do for yourself to make it all a little bit easier. My whole idea is that I really want to, and my whole thing with my show and my daily notes and weekly reminding you right on this show and on YouTube, is to bring you more awareness, more peace, and of course more joy. Because if you feel good about the things that you do, if you make it a little bit slower once in a while, if you give yourself a nicer start every day, then it is such an amazing, you will see the outcome. It is such an amazing experience. It's control. It's about control. Don't let yourself fly off the handle. Right? So sometimes we are able to let go in a sense of crying or being sad. But if you let it linger on too long, of course, that is not healthy for your overall well-being. And I want you to practice well-care. Well-being is in your hands, and it is your healthcare that you are worried about and that you are in control of. So let's call it well-care, right? I hope to see you next week. If you have questions, please reach out. And that would be elianhaan.com or elianhaan@gmail. Just let me know. And please be in touch and please let me know, or of course, in the comments on all these platforms that this show is to be seen on. Leave me comments and come back next week. I'll see you then. Namaste. Make it a great day. Bye.